This video was initially intended for our existence coaches to help our members work around injuries. But I realized, you know what, there's a lot of people that just could use this information, so putting it out there to the YouTubes. So if you're a coach or an injury-prone athlete, or someone like myself who falls into both those categories, keep watching. If you want to work out around an injury, step number one, you need to choose a program you're going to stay consistent with. It needs to be convenient enough to where you're going to stay consistent. Step number two, ideally, you'll be following a total body strength and conditioning program. So if you're working around an injury, chances are you have some rehabilitation exercises for that shoulder, that knee, that hip, that ankle, whatever it is. And typically your rehab practitioner, whether that's chiro, a PT, a surgeon, will give you specific exercises they want you to be doing. But that's just a small part of working out around an injury. By incorporating total body strength and conditioning, you're going to get stronger, you're going to heal faster, you're going to look better naked. It's a win-win-win-win for everybody. Step number three, so when following a total body strength and conditioning program, you're probably going to have a day where you push, where you pull, where you hinge, where you squat, maybe where you get up, and maybe when you carry. All right, now as closely as possible, you want to stick to that pattern. And what that means is if it's a squat day, you want to try to squat. If it's a hinge day, you want to try to hinge. If it's a push day, yada, 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 yada. There are about 4 or 5 questions we can ask around each exercise or around each training session. Question number one, can you do a partial range of motion? Let's say you have a shoulder injury and you're doing a bench press. Can you do a partial range of motion? If the answer is yes, then do that. If you cannot do a partial range of motion, the next question we need to ask is, can you do it on one side? If one side is completely out of commission, back to the bench press, can you do it with one side? Yes, then do that. In fact, not only could you do that one side bench press, but then you can take your rehab exercises and actually do them like your PT would love for you to do, and do those, all right? Maybe it's a towel up against the wall, some banded pull-aparts, whatever that is, but you can perform your rehab exercises at the same time you're working that other side. So question number one, can you perform a partial range of motion? No? All right, can we do it on one side? No? Can we do it in a different plane of motion? So what I mean there is, all right, the bench press, let's say, bench press does not feel good in any way, shape, or form. What about an overhead press? Actually, that feels great. Cool. Well, if we can't do a bench press, maybe we can do a vertical press. All right. If you can't horizontally push, maybe you can vertically push, or vice versa. If going overhead doesn't feel great, maybe we can go horizontal. So if we can't do a partial range of motion and we can't do one-sided and we can't change the plane of movement, can we at least stay in the same hemisphere? So if it is a bench press day, we've exhausted all of our options. The next thing I would do is say, well, bench press is upper body. Can I do an upper body movement like a pull? So can I do a TRX row or a pull-up or a bent over row or something like that? At least staying in the same hemisphere. Range of motion, single side, different plane of movement, hemisphere. If the answer is no, my upper body is just completely jacked, then and only then will I switch something to a lower body. All right, your upper body is just not happening. Cool. Today is a squat day or a hinge day or something like that, but we will switch hemispheres. But if somebody comes in with a shoulder issue, I'm not just going to say, all right, okay, let's have this person do squats today. Or if somebody comes in with a knee issue, we're not just going to have them start doing bench press. Let's say squats are on the program. All right, squats are on the program. Can we do a partial range of motion? Ooh, you see I'm starting to shift over. No, partial range of motion is out. All right. If it's a knee injury, oftentimes people can do a partial range of motion without any pain. That's where I would have them stay. At least that's where we go first, right? Question about squats and an ankle injury. Now we could say, okay, we don't have a partial range of motion. Can we do it on one side? Oh, of course. It's only my left ankle that's bothering me. So I'm going to probably have that person do single leg squats. All right, single leg squats to a box. If they have a full pistol squat, fantastic. If they have a reverse lunge, some variation of that. But they can do some sort of squat on one side. Now, let's say they have funky ankles or funky knees on both sides. So we can't do a partial range of motion. We can't do one-sided. Probably can't stay in the same plane either. So I'm going to see, can we stay in the same hemisphere? If the goal was to work lower body and we were going to do a squat, we can't do a partial range of motion and we can't do a single side. I'm going to see if we can do a deadlift instead of a squat. So can we hinge versus a squat, or maybe a trap bar or some variation of that? At least we're staying with the intended stimulus of that training session. Now let's say they had both knees replaced and lower body's completely out. All right, there's definitely no range of motion. There's no single side, no different plane, not even the same hemisphere. You know what? Congratulations, you get to bench today. If indeed you have exhausted all of your options and you have literally tried all movement patterns and they all kind of hurt as far as strength training goes, then and only then would I have somebody switch to a monostructural form of exercise, like a rower, a bicycle, ski erg, or walking, right? If it's an upper body injury, you can probably go for a walk. If it's a lower body injury, you can probably do the ski erg. The whole reason we're talking about working out around an injury is because motion is lotion. And the more you move that joint, all right, the quicker that healing process becomes. This whole video could have been called Stop Making Excuses.